Hi everyone, welcome back to my channel. My name is Sylvia, and in today's video I'm actually asking for your help in identifying the remains of a little girl who was found in a trailer park in Opelika, Alabama. This girl has not been identified, and that just makes it even harder to find out who put her there. So, if this is her death, then her life couldn't have been much better. So I'm hoping that she can get her name back and whoever did this to her can be held accountable. On January 28, 2012, the remains of a small child were found behind a mobile home in a trailer park in Opelika, Alabama. She looks to be between the ages of 4 and 7, and a small, long-sleeved pink shirt was found nearby that they think might have belonged to her. Only a few bones were found, including her skull and jaw, and despite the small amount of forensic evidence, the law enforcement officers could tell that she had sustained an injury to her eye that would make her unable to see, and this was her left eye. But yeah, it's really sad. She was partially blind because of the injury that she sustained during one of these fits of abuse. I guess they scratched her eye or damaged it in some way to that she could no longer see out of that eye. They could also tell that she had been neglected and abused for several years leading up to her death, which made her stature smaller than the average child her age. And I think that's also why they have a range for her age instead of an exact number. She was black and had tight curly black hair, and back to this injury, this was her left eye. They believe that this injury was sustained during abuse, and it was something that would have been noticeable if you had seen this little girl. Isotope testing suggested that this little girl was native to Alabama or its bordering states, including parts of Florida, Texas, Oklahoma, Arkansas, Louisiana, Mississippi, Georgia, or South Carolina. So basically the entire southeast area might be where this little girl was born. And the location of the remains was a pretty rural area that wasn't very well known. So whoever disposed of her was familiar with Opelika, and they may have even lived in that trailer park. An anthropologist believes that this little girl was killed by her abuser between 2010 and the end of 2011. And the FBI, the Alabama police, and the Alabama school system have all tried to identify this little girl with no luck. Her name is a mystery to everyone who's involved in this case. And because of the city where she was found, she is referred to as the Opelika Jane Doe. And because she was found all the way back in 2012 and it's 2021, it really just blows my mind that they haven't even gotten to have an ID on her, let alone solve her murder. Opelika is a small city near Auburn, Alabama, which is a small city in itself. It's based off that university. A lot of the times they take impoverished areas and then put universities in them, and they hope to bring it up, which kind of happens, but it kind of just gentrifies it at the same time. I don't really know too much about Opelika. I do know some people who go to Auburn, and they said that the area that she was found in was one that they've been to once and then they never want to go back again. It's not a very safe area, even though generally Opelika is. If anyone is from Opelika or is an Opelika stan and they're watching this video, feel free to comment otherwise. I just asked one of my friends who went to Auburn and that's what she told me. But yeah, she may have been living in that trailer park. She may have been living near it. It just blows my mind that a child is able to just kind of disappear and nobody sounds the alarm bells. Where are her parents? Where are her grandparents, her aunts and uncles, even her neighbors? I just don't understand how a little kid could just disappear and nobody's reporting it. It makes me think that she was probably shielded from the world and not enrolled in any sort of school. In fact, Sergeant Richard Converse has stated that the Opelika Jane Doe was not, quote, exposed to the general public, and that's why she was able to go unnoticed. The only connection that this little girl has to the real world are these photos that surfaced of a girl who seems to be her. I'm putting the FBI rendering of her next to these photos, and it looks very similar, especially the eye injury. A teacher from Opelika's Greater Peace Baptist Church was looking through her photo album of a past vacation Bible school that they had had one summer, and she spotted this little girl that resembles the Opelika Jane Doe. These photos were taken around 2011, so it seems like she would have been killed soon after. The teacher gave these photos to police in 2016, but they were not released until 2020. As you can see in these photos, she has clothes on, she looks fairly, well kempt, and her hair has been styled into cornrows. So somebody was taking care of her on this day, even though the police said that her body was so malnourished that she was smaller than average kids her age. A lot of the times, abusive families will put on a show for the outside world, even though inside the house it's a very different story. I looked up cornrows and it said that they take about 2 hours to do. So maybe it happened during this vacation Bible school, or maybe it happened, the night before she went. But, somebody was taking care of this little girl. And I went to the Greater Peace Baptist Church's website and Facebook page, and I didn't find any posts or information about this literal dead, unidentified child that had attended one of their past Bible camps. And that just made me kind of mad, because I just feel like they could be getting the word out, because clearly somebody from their area took her there at some point, and therefore multiple people saw her. You can see that there's several people in the photographs. This church has less than 100 likes on Facebook, which isn't a read, but it's showing how small their community is. So I feel like it would be easy to identify her. These photos were taken around 2011, and it seems that she was killed soon after, especially based on the police estimate. She was found in January 2012, which is the very beginning of the year. So I'm guessing that she was killed in maybe like the fall of 2011. That is like the most accurate guess I can give. These photos were given to the Opelika Police Department back in 2016, but they were not released until 2020. I also said this about the Aisha Degree case. I'll link to the video in my description. But I don't get why these missing children don't get maximum news coverage right away. Doesn't alerting the public about a possible missing or endangered child sound like a priority? It just doesn't make sense that it just doesn't seem to be very productive to be releasing this information several years later. Aisha Degree went missing in 2000 in North Carolina and has not been located. Here are their photos side by side. Notice any similarities? When you're Black, it's not as much of a priority to the police to solve your case, which, is a huge issue. I was also thinking that maybe that's why the church hasn't really helped out the police more. Maybe there's just a general mistrust, because this is Alabama. There is a very extensive history of racism. So maybe that's why there hasn't been very much, help from the public. But it's just so upsetting that there hasn't been news coverage, and just the sheer fact that an unidentified baby was dumped behind a trailer park. I just feel like her caretakers, enabled this to happen. If you look at the location where Opelika Jane Doe was found, you can see that it's just a 10-minute drive from the church. Here is a map. The trailer park is right to the left, and then the star is the church where the photos were taken. Again, it's not proven that she's the girl in these photos, but I feel like it's very likely. So now to get into some theories about who this little girl could have been. She was found in a trailer park, so it's very possible that whoever did this to her just up and left, and they're in a different city or state now. Trailer parks are typically for low-income families, so it's possible that they couldn't even afford to go to the hospital and she had a home birth, and then they never got an actual birth certificate for her. Someone in the household was clearly abusive, so I don't know if there was somebody who cared for her and was unable to save her life, or if she really just went unnoticed. If this was an extremely impoverished family, it's possible that she didn't have a set home and she was just passed around to whoever had enough food in their pantry to feed her, which, based off the profile, wasn't very much. It's also possible that this child was the result of sex trafficking. If the mother was very young or being held against her will, or the pregnancy needed to go under the radar, possible that that's why she doesn't have an ID and wasn't registered with any sort of organizations. Maybe her caretakers didn't ever want this child to be fully identified. Maybe it was just more convenient for them if she, went away. Because we know so little about this girl, it's hard to say if this murder was pre-planned or if it happened in the moment. Since she was abused, she could have died during a beating similar to Gabriel Fernandez. There's a Netflix documentary on his life and his abuse, and I thought no child had a worse existence than him, but after reading this case, I'm clearly mistaken. It's just so shocking to me that there hasn't been more news coverage about this and more people haven't called in with tips. There's a $20,000 reward for anyone who can identify the Opelika Jane Doe. I'm putting her renderings up again. The Opelika Police Department can be reached at 334-705-5200. I just feel like somebody had to have seen this child, and because of her eye injury, they would remember her. The right person just needs to step forward. If you live in the Southeast United States, please share this video so that whoever did this to this little girl could be held accountable and so that she could have her name back. This case was a downer, but I just feel like it's really important to get the word out, especially since she's not even identified, so solving her case is even more hard. If you're interested in true crime, then please subscribe to my channel. I put out new videos every week, and I'm already writing notes on my video next week, which is another disturbing story. Please give this video a big thumbs up if you liked it. Again, if you live in the Southeast United States, I encourage you to reach out to the Opelika Police Department with any information that you know about a child who's the victim of abuse, or if you even saw a child who looked similar to her. It just takes one person to come forward and give the police the information they need to crack the case. So thank you for watching my video. Until next week, have a great day and stay safe.